to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of the WC podcast. I'm Celia Rouse, and I will be your host today. With me, I have two very special guests, Eboni Hodge, high school counselor at Legacy High, and Chad Gregorius, high school counselor specialist. Hi, Eboni. Hi, Chad. How are you guys today?
Good
Thanks.
to be
How are
here.
you?
Welcome to the podcast. We're so glad to have you. But before we get started, what do you think of our new podcast studio?
This is cool.
It's real fancy. I feel like I'm in a log cabin.
Ooh, well, that's good. At least you
Very
feel
rustic.
Yeah. Well, so today we're just going to have a little conversation. I'm going to start with Chad. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose to become a high school counselor specialist.
I think my origin story, as it was, is similar to a lot of other high school counselors. When I was in high school, I didn't really have a counselor that I knew, and I didn't really know how to plan for what happened after high school. So I was very fortunate. I just chose to follow my friends whose families got them into college, and then I just sort of stumbled around until I found a good fit for myself. So I wanted to ensure and do what I could to prevent other high school students from having the same experience. So that's what brought me to high school counseling. I've been doing it now for almost 10 years. Before that, I worked in higher education. And yeah, I'm just really pleased to be where we're at today. This is great.
That's wonderful.
Thanks.
Eboni, what about you?
So my story is a little bit different than Chad's. I didn't necessarily have a relationship with my counselor, but I had a relationship with a counselor in the counseling department. And preferably she was the college and scholarship counselor. So I was in there all the time, like, you're going to remember me because I need money. And so there came my love for counseling. But of course, I went different pathways prior to finally becoming a school counselor. So I've worked as a probation officer, CPS investigator, psychiatric caseworker, and then finally ended up where I was supposed to be. So, which I have now been a school counselor for, I think this is going on year 15. Yeah.
That's great. I feel like all of your path led you,
Yeah.
gave you all the tools and knowledge,
All the
right?
tools.
That's so cool. All right. So both of you were part of the first CCSD Workforce Fellows cohort.
Yes.
Very exciting. We started with 5, and we're now at 11.
Yep.
What was your experience during the first cohort, and then how did it affect you in the second cohort?
Okay, so the first cohort was really exciting. Like, just to be asked to do this work was in and of itself exciting. And then when we started planning it, it just became more and more real. And I was like really looking forward to what would happen next. And then this tiny little pandemic thing happened. And so we had to pivot quickly and really just did most of the cohort online. And we got to know a lot about ourselves and sort of what this work could look like in this new world. So it, for better or worse, like the in-person beginning to it was great to see physical spaces, and then going online made it, I think, even more enriching because we learned now how to make it like sort of work for everybody, where, you know, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's kind of what it meant. And it really prepared us for the second cohort because I feel like we were ready for anything that could be thrown at us, and that nothing was going to faze us. And I think that's why the second cohort was, I think, just a much, like, it was just a really fun atmosphere the whole time. Everybody was in it to win it, and we just really got along well.
How about you, Eboni?
So before coming to the fellowship, Chad and I had actually finished a National Career Development Association training, which was facilitating career development. So this was just a real natural transition after learning all of that to apply for. And so thankful that we were able to get in and utilize that basis of information to help with getting that, you know, that plane built as far as the career development components. And so it has definitely It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but it's something that we can look back on and be really proud of the structure that we helped create that other counselors will then be able to benefit from, and even getting to know each other better, because even though we all are counselors, it's a really big district. So we've been able to just kind of get to know coworkers and build those relationships with the other partners so that we could better connect our students and families to resources.
Well, now it makes all the sense in the world how you guys navigated the first cohort and developed what you did, develop the career pathways and the curriculum. Real fantastic work. So now it makes sense. I was like, these guys are brilliant. How did they know how to do this? You were already planning for it, just didn't know you were planning for it. Right?
Exactly.
Well, that's awesome. So, Chad, I'm going to ask this question to you, and you can chime in, Eboni, if it. So CCSD is an integral part of the workforce pipeline. With the CCSD fellowship, counselors are provided knowledge of WIOA Title I services. How does that impact, or what changes have you seen since learning how all the things, how everything kind of ties together, or how the bridges are being connected because of the information you have now?
I think the easiest way to answer that is like brief story. So maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we started learning about the ACT work keys, and then I remember asking around, does anybody know what this is and how to access it? And then somebody said, oh, just go to this website it's like One Stop. It's a One Stop thing. And so I went to the website. And so I remember even back then visiting the websites for the One Stop centers. And then, so that led to where we are today. And now virtually everyone in high school counseling is learning about the One Stop system, and also how to access it and navigate it. So it's just the things that we've learned in the first and second cohorts are now becoming just like common language in our district, which is hard to do. Our district is very, it's insular at times. Like it's very easy to just sort of, this is how we do it. And so to learn new things and to integrate it this quickly really highlights how great it is. Yeah.
And then with this cohort, we were able to do an interactive resource guide. And so what that then did was made all of these resources with the Title I WIOA programs accessible to the other counselors just at click of your mouse. And even with us having the tabs on there, it's like, okay, if a student is homeless, then you click on this tab and there's these resources. If they need employment, you click on this tab and there's these resources. So even if they didn't go through the professional development that was provided, they still would have that resource guide to be able to utilize and see the services that we know are out there now for them to connect students and families with.
And has that guide been implemented amongst counselors that are not in the Workforce Fellows? Have you guys passed it along yet, or
no,
shared?
No, not yet. We're still trying to get the year up and running. I know it feels like it's the end of September, but our school year is really just now settling in, so that's on the horizon.
That interactive guide is it's a very great resource, and it's almost intuitive. Like, you built it so well that it shows the pathway to get what you need, right? Like, you guys did a really good job mapping it out. So bravo to you and the rest of the fellows. Once it gets shared and everybody can use it, I think it'll be a very powerful and valuable guide to all the high school counselors. Yeah. Eboni, you work with some of the Employ MB Youth Hub providers.
Yes.
Since working with them and now understanding more of how WIOA Title I works, how do you feel their services relate to your students, or can they relate to your students? And have you seen anything out of the ordinary? Like, are there fees for the services they provide, or is there anything they have to do that's outside of the norm?
Okay. So our contact is Help of Southern Nevada based on where we're located. And so a lot of our students have been able to utilize the Earn and Learn program, where they're getting the internships and the on-the-job training and all of those things. And so we've had some students who have gone through some of the training programs. They love the incentives that come along with it. So it's like, finish this training program, you get $200. Graduate from high school, you get $200, So they love that. And then we tried at my school to connect. So we had Cosmetology Institute of Las Vegas come, and she didn't even know that I've been pushing, the kids to get with the Earn and Learn program. But she stated, you can go through one of the one-stop career centers, and if you are eligible for it, they can pay for the program. So then some of the kids looked at me like, is this that program that you were talking about? I was like, yeah, but until you saw an employer, it didn't connect. So then the kids were like, I need that information. So it was great to be able to connect the information that we were providing with an actual resource. So then the kids saw the importance of actually, connecting with Help of Southern Nevada as a resource.
Well, I'm glad that we could build those bridges, right? Like, 'cause it does make it a little more seamless process.
It was.
Chad, from your perspective, what else can public workforce development, workforce development system do to help others prepare for to enter career pathways?
In thinking about that question, really the only place I can go with that is if we can just create more experiences for students to just see what a modern workplace is like. So it could be internships. It doesn't need to be that formal, but just being open and receptive to having students come to your work location and just experience what it's like to be there and in the workforce, I think will make so many more connections for our students who, for the last 2 years have really just been at home, but also even before then, just kind of seeing their own family and their own little sphere of influence. This will just expand those horizons so much and so fast. I think it'll give our students more energy and sort of excitement around entering the workforce.
Well, I'm excited to see what the third cohort adds to what you've already built. Do you have any final thoughts? Either one of you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to share with the audience?
This has just actually been an amazing experience, for me, because especially after going from that training program to actually being able to do the work that we feel is needed, because we know that we've been pushing for a long time, college, but even some of our college kids don't know what they want to do, so we got to take some steps back and make sure that they understand different career assessments and what high demand careers are out there so that they know what's available for them, and especially if they want to stay locally, which is what we hope they will do.
Yeah.
For me, because I'm not in a school every day, the people that I talk to and interact with discussing career development and workplace readiness, it is so commonplace now. And I just love that that's where we're kind of going with everything, that this work that we've been doing, sort of toiling at, is now just part of the normal conversation. And so when people ask us questions, we are prepared with a bunch of answers and resources and next steps. And that's really, it's a rewarding thing.
That's wonderful to hear. So thank you so much for both being here today. I really appreciate the conversation and excited to see what the future brings for the Workforce Fellows and your counseling careers.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited too.
Well, that wraps up this segment of the WC podcast. Thank you for joining us. Until next time. Thank you, Eboni and Chad, for staying over for our bonus segment, Against the Wall. First segment, your favorites. Your favorite food.
Seafood.
Macaroni and cheese.
Your favorite movie.
The Color Purple.
Harry Potter.
Your favorite city to visit.
We've been to so many places. I don't know.
Chicago.
Fiji.
Your favorite subject in school.
Not math.
My magnet program.
Your favorite artist or musical group.
Blackpink.
Boys to Men. I don't know.
Favorite holiday.
My birthday.
Thanksgiving.
Your favorite sports team.
Well, I have several, but the Warriors.
The Niners.
Second segment, tough choices. Would you rather vacation in the U.S. or abroad?
Abroad.
Would you rather go camping or glamping?
Glamping.
Camping.
Would you rather drink coffee or tea?
Tea.
Coffee.
Would you rather owe money or owe a favor?
Oh, a favor.
Money.
Would you rather have a cat or a dog?
Dog.
Would you rather have justice or give grace?
Ooh,
Grace.
justice.
Would you rather have actions or words?
Actions.
Next segment, finish the sentence. If you could live anywhere, it would be?
Somewhere Caribbean.
Spain.
Your favorite thing about your job is?
The kids.
The counselors.
If you could travel back in time, you would travel to?
Caveman.
There's not a time I would want to go back to. Maybe college. Yeah, go back to college.
The best part of visiting Southern Nevada is? Or I should say the best part of living in Southern Nevada is?
You can ski in the winter.
I think, we're both from the Bay Area, so it's hard.
Yeah.
So hiking.
3 words that describe you are?
You first.
Okay, 3 words. Silly, loyal, and what's the third one? Let's see. Organized.
Real, honest, disorganized.
Doing the WC podcast today was?
A good experience.
A lot of fun.
Thank you for joining us.